So what do you want to know? I've worked with Banana Republic, Victoria's Secret, Nike, Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, Ralph Lauren, Polo Sport, and hundreds of brands that you haven't heard of who are famous in their own market. Okay, so sometimes you're on vacation and you're having a brilliant time and you're relaxed, all your problems are somewhere else, and you turn to whoever you're with and you're like, I could live here. Well, I had one of those moments. I'm from England, the weather sucks, it's cold, and we're in California, and a friend of a friend let us stay in her condo, and she was at work, and so we're sitting on this little balcony, and there's this view of the Pacific Ocean, and it's blue. In England, if you see the ocean, it's grey. There were palm trees, which I'd never seen before, and they were gorgeous. This gorgeous sunset. We're drinking Bud Lights and smoking Marlboro Lights and feeling real American. And I'm like, I could live here. And my friend goes, me too. And I'm like, I just had this epiphany. I'm like, I'm fucking serious. I hate my life. I hate my job. I hate the weather. I hate the underground. I feel so stifled. I'm miserable and I'm 24 years old. I've got to get out of here, out of there. And so don't say you're in if you're not. Are you in? I'm going to quit. I've got to do this. I don't know what it is, but I've got to do it. And he said, okay. So then we go and find a little napkin and a pen and we start writing down, well, why would we have a business? And the first thing I wrote was the word adventure. I never knew how important that word was going to be for the rest of my life. But it was adventure. We go down the list. I remember number 7 was any haircut that we want. Because I'd always fancied having some colour in my hair or something. And then we thought, money. And we thought that was way down the list. And that was the plan. And so we went back to England, sold everything we had, and when I say everything, I'm talking about my railway set, some furniture, some toys, it's just all my stuff. And between the two of us, we raised $10,000. And we're like, we're in business. We spent $5,000 on inventory, and we thought, well, antiques, old things, the Americans, from what we were always told, Americans are rich and stupid, so they'll buy anything. And so we thought, well, let's buy some antiques and sell them. I know what. Antique parties in people's homes, because we knew we couldn't afford a store or anything like that, so how do we sell them? And that was our big plan. And we rested the rest of our lives on this plan that we had no idea about, but that's how we got started. Well, after the antique parties did not work, but I was now 6 months in, and I'm like, I am not going back. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this work. I can't go back to England a loser. And I was friends with this guy, and he invited me to his parents' house for a barbecue. And so I went to the barbecue and got chatting with his sister, and she's like, asked me what I did. And so I said, well, we bring these old things from England and try and sell them. And she's like, well, Banana Republic buy this stuff, and I've got a friend whose friend works as a receptionist at Banana Republic. Do you want to meet? So I said, sure. And we met up. I showed her some stuff. We chatted for probably 10 minutes. That was it. And off I went. And then a few weeks later, I was at my first ever gay pride, and I saw this float, and it's called P-Flag. And I asked my friends, what's P-Flag? And they said, proud to be parents of lesbians and gays. And I was like, my parents could be proud of me? So I just hightailed it to England. I thought, I'm going to come out to my parents if they could be proud of me. And the night that I came out, I was eating spaghetti bolognese. And I remember thinking, because my parents are very, very old-fashioned, and I thought, if I come out before they eat, they're going to not eat. And if I come out too late, if I leave it too late, my mum will get up and start doing the dishes. So I timed it, and before I knew it, I'd gone into a daze, because I was thinking, I'm going to be saying the word gay to my parents, and I can't take that back. That's what have I done? But I'd set myself up. And so the last words my mum ever said before she found out was, David, if you can't eat it all, just eat the meat. And so I said, well, funny enough, I've got something I've got to tell you. And I came out to them, and we after a lot of talking, we're having a hug, the three of us, and it's like 9 p.m, and suddenly the phone goes, and this is in England, before the internet, and I picked the phone up thinking it must be my brother or somebody, and it was this girl that I'd met from Banana Republic, and she placed an order for $275,000 of vintage British suitcases. It's the first time I ever said fuck in front of my parents. And I thought of it as instant karma that I came out and immediately got this order from Banana Republic. So I got busy doing the order. They even sent 50% deposits, which I'd never asked for. I didn't even know you could do such a thing. And I was in business, and that was it. I got the deal. Well, there's a lot of history, but I'm going to choose this one. Because this picture here, which is the side of a house that's just packed with old vintage suitcases. One of the things I talk about a lot is called the vendor trap. And even though we got this great order from Banana Republic at the beginning, we joined what I now understand to be the vendor trap. This represents the very beginnings when we got this business from Banana Republic. We'd have done business with anybody. We just wanted to make sales. We just wanted to not go back to England. We just wanted to be not failures. So we were doing whatever we could from our house. And this picture reminds me of how our house was not a home. It was packed with... You had to walk around like it's like a hoarder. It was, we didn't even invite friends over, because doing $275,000 of luggage for Banana Republic, that was a ton of stuff. And we did it from our house. So it all came through the front door, and we had all the work that we did to the cases happen in our backyard. So it was just this big production before we got caught and not allowed to do business from a house anymore, but we got away with it for a couple of years. But that's what that represents, is the beginnings of making it happen, the beginnings of getting started, the beginnings of learning so much about what it takes to stand apart from everybody else who does what we were doing or trying to do. So that's why, I mean, when someone sees a picture of some old luggage in a frame, that's so boring, but to me it says so much about what we were doing to get started. I love stories. Stories are what motivate me. Their stories are what captivate me. Stories are what help me forget the reality of how crappy things can be. But what I love about what a brand is, and the way a brand can really work, is through story. That's the only thing that we have to engage people, inspire people. Look at Hollywood. I mean, it's about taking stories and turning them into something really exciting. And that's what a brand can do too. So I love telling stories. I love helping people see that their business isn't just about selling old shit. It's about the story of why I chose you. That's why I love what I do. Please note, no copyright infringement is intended, and I do not own nor claim to own any of the original Ralph Lauren visuals or audio used in this video. It's Polo Ralph Lauren. That's how it. And actually, I was doing business with them for a couple of years, and one day, this guy, the head buyer, the Steve Jobs of Polo, took me aside. He goes, "You're saying it wrong, and you're getting away with it because you're English, but I know you don't know it." I was like, "You're right, shit." And it's Polo Ralph Lauren. Well, it started off, we were bringing antique containers of antique furniture, and one day I opened the door of the container that was in front of our house, and there's a big pile of old suitcases, and I was like, "What the hell's this crap?" And I literally thought, what have you wasted? I was always thinking that my business partner wasted money on stuff that was stupid. And a lot of it was. But this pile of luggage, I was like, what is he thinking now? And the funny thing is, that was the very first thing I sold, and I sold it for I mean, the guy snapped my hand off, and we'd become friends with the local Polo store. But we didn't have a contract. We were just known by a store and their interior guy came and said, "I'll buy all of it." And I was like, "Let's buy some more of that." And that's how we got going with the suitcases. So that's how I first got to know Polo, and I wanted in at Polo. I loved that the brand wasn't really my brand for me to wear, but I was really into the story of Ralph Lauren. So I kept calling and calling and calling and calling, and I would get a little business here and a little business there, but it was always like, the main people, they wouldn't even call me back. It was like The Devil Wears Prada. It was like you'd call and you get a receptionist, and they're like, "Well, I'll tell them that you called," and they never even told them. It was just like, you're just not getting through. But one day, it was a Tuesday, I'm at my office, 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm literally thinking, what should I watch on TV? Is it American Idol kind of thing? What should I eat? And the phone goes, and I was like, I was just on my way out, but, I picked the phone up. And it was Stephen Manello, the Steve Jobs of Ralph Lauren. And he goes, "How's my favourite antique dealer?" And that was something I was already tired of being called because my company was called London Antique, so it made sense. But and I said, "Great, how are you? How can I help you, Stephen?" And I was like, "Stephen Manello called me?" And then he goes, "Well, I'm in town with two of my regional reps. We were wondering what you're doing for dinner." That's code for, you are buying our dinner and we're going to be real generous with your money. And so I was like, oh shit. But then I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. I'm like, okay, you're not going to be laying on the sofa until you're going to be out on form. So I took him to this restaurant, and I was right, they are very generous with the wine, especially on your dime. And we all got shit-faced, but along the way, and I was like, well, I'm treating, so they should be including me in the conversation, and not just the guy that pays. And they kept on going on. They were pissed off about this brass cow, and after a while, they kept on coming back and chatting, and then ranting on about this brass cow. I'm like, what is this brass cow you're talking about? And they're like, we just flew in today from Des Moines. And the flagship store, that table where you go in and it's like, our brand is, the first thing you get is, it's supposed to have a brass polo horse on it. There's a brass cow. And they said, we got the store manager, like, what the F is this brass cow doing here? It's supposed to be, what if the media found out? What if Ralph Lauren found out? It would be the laughing, this is wrong. And he goes, well, this is Des Moines, they like cows here. And I laughed, and then I was involved in the conversation, and we had a great time. And then I was falling asleep that night, and suddenly I had this like, like, what was I thinking? I wasn't even thinking. And in the morning, as soon as I woke up, I called Stephen on his cell phone, and I was like, and he was at the airport, and he goes, hey, that was a great evening, thanks. And I said, great. what are you doing on Tuesday? Because I should have mentioned I'm going to be in New York. Can I see you? I had no business in New York. And he said, sure. So I pulled it together, got my ass to New York. I'd never been to 650 Madison Avenue, the headquarters of Polo. And I was so nervous from being drunk on a Tuesday night in San Francisco with this brilliant idea. All of a sudden, the cold reality of day is 10 a.m. and this headquarters. It's like you go up the elevator to the 44th floor, and it's like you've stepped into a mansion. You don't know you're in a high rise. It's like 2 stories of this huge mezzanine, and it's quiet. And there's all this antique furniture, and it's huge. And there's people walking around like it's a very important place. And the receptionist walks me through to these 2 big leather overstuffed chairs, and in between them was this huge bowl of chocolate-covered M&Ms. And I remember it's important because I was sat there thinking, what have I done? I've wasted all this money to come here, and maybe I can fill my briefcase with M&Ms. And I was just starting to think I can get a lot of those into it. And I was thinking, how do I do it without anyone seeing me? And then all of a sudden the girl is like, they'll see you now. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said they, and I thought, I'm just seeing Stephen. But I walk into this room, these double doors, and there's this huge conference table, and Stephen's at the end, flanked both sides by 7. So forth, there's 15 of them. And I'm like, holy crap. And so I go in, and it's all about me. And I go in, so I immediately introduced myself to everyone and shook everyone's hand. And Stephen goes, so, what have you come to talk about? And I said, okay, I'm here because, thank you for your time. I'm here because I'm worried about your brand. I really am. Okay, well, so the journey went, we were doing a ton of business with Polo Ralph Lauren, so much so that Polo Europe were coming together, and we were basically told, you've got the Polo Europe account. And we actually, and back in those days, I was doing all this business. I was in really good shape. I was feeling great about myself. And we didn't go on a sales meeting. We literally flew first class to Paris to collect our multi-million-dollar contract. And that's exactly what happened. We flew to Paris, stayed in the best hotel. Meg Ryan, the movie star, came on to me. John Cusack was across the bar. We were like, hey, how you doing, John? And he's like, good to see you guys. And we bantered with John Cusack, and I felt, I'm fucking, the man. I was wearing my Prada suit. I was feeling great, and I just have waltzed in, collected like a $3 million account. And they were like, listen, Europe is different than America. America, you can ship to any state. It's all the same. In Europe, every country's got different rules. So make sure you don't fuck it up. We're like, we'll get it down. We found the best shipping company that you can use, and they were more money than anybody else, but they were convinced us that they were the ones, so we did business with them. And all eyes are on us. Order number 1 goes out, stuck in customs, like fuck. Order number 2 sticks in customs. Order number 3, get to order number 14, and they're all stuck in customs in some country in Europe because Kuhn & Nagel, who were the shipping company, screwed up. So there's a whole nother story which we can cover some other time, but I managed to get Kuhn & Nagel to write a letter saying it was their fault, but the phone goes, and it was Stephen Manello's assistant, and she's like, you need to be in New York on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And I was like, we'll be there. And I was like, fuck, we're gonna be fired. We've lost everything. We fucked up. And so we went economy, which I had stopped doing. I was still wearing my Prada suit, and we get to New York, and we'd been practicing every scenario to salvage the deal, to have them trust us. Please, we'll do this, this and this. And we were all we focused on was not being fired. So we get to New York, we walk down this corridor to this totally different room. Everything was acrylic table, acrylic bucket seats. Everything was glass and acrylic. It was very cool, but I had never seen anything like it. And I sit in my chair in my Prada suit, which used to be made of nylon, and in come the crew, and we're waiting to be really like, this is it. And oh my God, my heart was pounding out my chest. And they turned and they go, so, Polo Sport, what should we do? And I'm like, what you want to say is, you mean we're not being fired? And then I looked at my business partner and we couldn't say anything. We're like, what? We hadn't rehearsed for this. What do we do? And all of a sudden, I'm like, that actually, I was ready for the you're being fired conversation. I wasn't ready for you being given the biggest opportunity of your life conversation. But they didn't give a crap about there's shipping problems all the time, I find out later. Everybody has shipping problems. It wasn't your fault. It's just shipping. I thought it was really serious. So they were like, what should we do? And so I just went into ask question mode. And I asked them a ton of questions, and I remember after an hour, I could feel the sweat dripping down my back, and I turned and I was like, how long do you need before you have a response? And they said, 6 weeks. I said, you'll have an answer, you'll have everything you need in 4. And I stood up to leave, we all standing up, and I look at my seat, and it looked like I'd wet my pants. There was a puddle of water in this acrylic chair that had dripped down my back, and I had nowhere to go. And I literally stood up and I saw it and I was like, oh! And I was like, and I was trying to mop it all up. Thank goodness the suit was black. And then we say our goodbyes and we get in the elevator, and my business partner Keith was like wanting to be like, woohoo! And I was like, shut up, just shut up, there won't be cameras in here, just shut up. And so we were just like, da, 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 da. And I was like, by the way, I wet my pants. And we get onto the street and I'm like, we've got to walk, they could have cameras out here, and we just keep walking, and we walk about 40 yards, and I was like, we got fucking Polo Sport!
Please note, no copyright infringement is intended, and I do not own nor claim to own any of the original Ralph Lauren visuals or audio used in this video.
Polo Sport, the fragrance and skin fitness line by Ralph Lauren. The Polo Sport Pack with 5 essentials. Your gift with any $35 Polo Sport fragrance purchase. Available at Hecht's.